I'm going to try this thing until I bleed. And then I'm going to get tape and I'm going to try some more. You're scaring yourself out of your mind. You are very in the moment. And so that's when you actually perform at your best. That's that flow state that Mia High-Tech Mihanchia talks about.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Icebox session. My name is Sean Cassidy and we are in conversation with Nova Scotia rock climbers. Today we are chatting with the legendary Heather Reynolds. Heather has been a driving force in the Nova Scotia climbing community for the last 35 years. From dirty old trad routes at Main Face to the pristine environment of the modern climbing gym, Heather has literally done it all. She wrote a book on performance rock climbing and has coached for many years. She's bouldered with Lynn Hill and traveled extensively as a sponsored climber in the 1990s. 9 months after giving birth via C-section, she sent Tsunami, one of our original bouldering test pieces. This woman is badass. Welcome to the Icebox.
Thank you. It's quite something.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I love your wall. You have a nice little wall to play
You're the first
with.
one to say that.
There's lots of things to look at. Lots of colors, lots of things to look at. I noticed your plaque.
Yes.
I have one too. But my very petite sojourn as the president of Climb Nova Scotia, I was like, we got to get back to that. That has to happen more.
I think that was Mick Levin's idea.
It was recognizing people who've made big contributions to the community, I think, is so important. And it's the one successful thing I managed to do. Well, I did two successful things in my very brief period as the president.
Your brief return. You were president years ago, I think, right?
No, I was never
Okay.
president years ago. I was secretary, and I don't even think I was VP when it first started.
Okay.
But I was one of the original people. And to me, a large part of what Climb Nova Scotia should do is it should be perpetuating that desire for people to be involved in the community, you know, the provincial organization giving back. And to do that, you give to them. Like, you have to find some way to honor their contributions, like the work that Nathan Benjamin has done. All the Benjamins, really.
Absolutely.
You know, and none of them have
They
been
don't have
recognized.
plaques. They don't have plaques yet. So we're pointing to a bit of granite, which is. Can you read it from there? It's like the lifetime.
Lifetime membership to Climb Nova Scotia for your contributions to the climbing community in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really nice, and you're right. There's lots of people that should be recognized.
Yes.
Beyond our little cohort that got recognized.
That's right.
That was probably 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Quite a while.
Yeah. A long time ago.
It's heavy to carry around with you. It'd be nicer to have a small membership card.
I actually kind of like it.
It's cool.
I do. I still have mine near my office where I work, and I show it to people because I think when you work in an industry, especially in the sporting world, when you contribute in the sporting world, it's often volunteer. It's often a lot of your own time and sweat and knowledge that goes in to making things happen. And it's nice for that to be recognized.
Yeah, it goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I was chatting with Greg Hughes about recognizing the efforts of first ascensionists. All that effort of all those people who have put scrub lines and put up routes, and I know you've put up a number of them.
Yeah. Well, I've been there, even if I didn't do the first ascent.
You were around for a lot of them, yeah.
I did a fair amount of belaying. But I think, where would we be if we didn't have those people who were willing to put in that time? And they're very special people. Like, you look at the work Todd Foster has put into putting information out for people in terms of what's available. And he does that on his own time. I mean, he tries to make money selling a book, maybe. It's not a lot of money for the amount of effort.
It's not as lucrative as podcasting, I can tell you that much.
Well,
yeah, that's what kind of makes the community feel like a community, right? Where everybody is giving of themselves and of their own time to make something for everybody, I guess.
Well, I think everyone on the planet wants to be recognized and seen for the contributions they make. And so when a community organization looks at you and says, hey, we appreciate what you've done, you kind of go, oh, I am a part of the community. I do belong. And I think as climbing has grown, the downside is you don't get as much of that.
Yeah, let's come back to that. There's some themes around community and how the space has changed, I guess, over the years that I want to dive into a little bit. But so I did a bit of research last night, trying to understand your history and all the stuff you've done. It's quite amazing. Like, you've built a life around climbing.
Yes.
All different vocations within that. I moved here around 95, I think, and I had been climbing a number of years before that. But I arrived, and I saw evidence of your contributions, and Sean Willett and Nick Sagar. None of you guys were around. It was like a vacuum had been left.
I was on the road.
You were on the road at that point.
Yeah.
Before that period, before I got here, a lot of stuff had happened. A lot of effort and milestones in terms of, creating Climb Nova Scotia, building a wall at the Dalplex, a guidebook for climbing here, route development, all kinds of stuff. So maybe just back it way up and tell us, how did you get started?
Okay, so through the trail shop, I wasn't yet working there. Through the trail shop, I met Sean Willett, and someone had said, do you want to go climbing? And that's how I met Sean Willett. And I went out and I had one of those moments that first day where I was like, this is what life is about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I've been doing it all wrong. This is what life is about.
Yeah.
And, Sean's a socially awkward person. He's an academic. And I was walking on Spring Garden Road 2 weeks later, and he pulled his car in front of me at a sidewalk. And he's like, remember me? We went climbing. And I said, yeah. And he said, do you want to go climbing on Friday? And I was like, sure. And so then I just started climbing regularly with him. And his problem had been he couldn't find people to go regularly. And then all of a sudden he finds me, and I'm like, yeah, I want to go.
Can you belay? Get in the car.
Well, you don't want to know how bad the first experience belaying was. When I think back now, I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have trusted me.
Yeah.
I learned from him, and of course he had a great deal of experience. And I was hooked right away and started climbing regularly with him. And at the time, I was a flight attendant.
Get out of here.
And I can remember because...
that was not on the resume that I
oh my God.
collected for you.
I can remember because of the pain in my fingertips, sometimes touching hot meal trays. So I ended up quitting being a flight attendant for that reason, but for other reasons too. And I ended up working at the trail shop, which put me in touch with gear and, in a way, community. And so during that early stage, Sean and I were out at Paces Lake on a long weekend, September, and this Boy Scout troop comes through, and they're all walking across the top, not knowing what they're doing, way too close to the edge. And then the landowner was out there. And the landowner...
Is this main face or first face?
Main face.
Okay.
And the landowner is like, I got to put up no trespassing signs. And that started a conversation. And then that's how Climb Nova Scotia was born, because he was threatening to close out access. Sean's from Utah originally. And so we got in touch with the Access Fund, and the Access Fund said, organize. And as soon as you get organized, then you can start working together with the landowner. So pulled the climbing community together. I remember we met at the Dalplex in the pool conference room. And that very first meeting, there were disagreements about what Climb Nova Scotia should be and do.
And it continues to this day.
That is still the case.
Awesome.
And yeah, so that was the birth of Climb Nova Scotia.
I think there's real value in Climb Nova Scotia as an organization, but I think it feels like that organization doesn't know what its purpose is, or the community doesn't know what its purpose is. And one of the most important things, I think, is access to climbing areas. And I find that super refreshing to understand that that's how it started.
Yeah.
And we take it for granted with Mainface in particular. Now, Adam Benjamin owns a good part of it, and he's supportive of us being there. And then prior to that, what was his name? Mark Hamilton?
Yeah, I think it is Hamilton.
Anyways, I know as Mark owns a good chunk of, E-Gully and that part of Mainface and the access trail, and he's been great to deal with over the years. Probably smoothed over by relations with Climb Nova Scotia years ago. That's right. You used to have to be a member to climb there.
That's right. Yeah. And where I worked at the trail shop, I sold the memberships.
Yeah, right.
At the trail shop when I was working. And so it was easy to build the community. Plus, Sean, we brought someone in from Ontario Rock Climbing Association, and we got certified to
Was that
teach.
Rob Chisnell?
Yeah, Rob Chisnell.
Okay. He taught me to climb.
Very big book about knots.
Yes.
And he came down and he took us out and certified folks to teach climbing outside. And so then Climb Nova Scotia was offering outdoor instruction. Mike Sutton wanted to go to Everest, and then he had the physio clinic at Dal, and he wanted Dal to put a wall in. And that's how the Fieldhouse wall was born. Plus, there was a gentleman. If you go into the Fieldhouse in Dalplex, there's a plaque on the wall.
Oh, Brian Adams.
Yes, Brian Adams. And his son had died, and he contributed to the construction of that Fieldhouse wall.
In memory of his son, yeah.
Yeah. And so that was the Fieldhouse wall.
Do you remember the dates on any of these events? If you asked me the same question, I couldn't tell you dates of my past life, but do you remember any dates? Like when Climb Nova Scotia formed, for example, or...
1991.
91, okay.
In the fall.
Okay.
Fieldhouse wall went in, because it was Climb Nova Scotia who did all the T-nuts and the texturing and all of that for that wall. It was facilities maintenance at Dal that put the structure directly to the wall.
Yeah.
But we did all the other prep work. And then Sean Willett did all the route setting, and I helped him with that. Yeah, around 91 was when it opened. 92 was when it opened. And then the Rock Court opened 2002.
10 years later.
10 years later.
Okay. You mentioned that when you first went out with Sean Willett, that, mind blown, this is what life should be all about. And I think it's common for all of us. It's often an immediate spark that changes the direction of our lives.
I don't know if people get that in the gym as much. I think some...
That's a fair point.
I think for me, it was nature and, there's... Especially if you're trad climbing, because the first climbs I was doing were trad, And you're just in nature. There's that moment of solitude because your partner is way on the other end of that rope.
Yeah.
And you're trying to figure it out, and you're on your own. And you're like, wow, this is what life should be about, because you have no other major problem in life except for how do I not die here?
Yeah. It brings focus.
It really does. And it lets the rest of that garbage go, and you just focus on that moment that you're in and the beauty of that moment.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much you can get that in the gym with the music going and the people yelling and the...
Am I believing my ears? I'm hearing a lifelong gym operator, owner, certifier advocating for dirty trad climbing as life-changing. I think that's what I just heard.
Well, I
Did
had
I?
that experience bouldering too, so I don't want to say,
Yeah, fair enough.
and sport climbing. But I think to me, the gym, when I got into the industry inside the gym, really it was all about, oh, you got to try this because this is amazing. And I'm going to show you how to get in your body and enjoy climbing even more because Nick said this and he's absolutely right. He said, the harder you climb, the more routes you have to climb. And so for my experience climbing was always about, I have to share this with people. And the easiest way to find that audience and do that is in a gym.
Yeah, and you've lived in the gym since that time, really,
Yeah.
kind of running, I don't know what you call it, like body experimentation or something. Yeah.
Well, that sounds weird.
This is fun. We're going to bounce around a bit, but we're talking about your passion of coaching and
Yeah.
helping people understand their bodies,
Yes.
movement, and accelerating their skills in climbing and experiencing more and more and more. As I understand it, that sort of like focus on performance stemmed out of your master's degree in kinesiology, which ultimately led to you writing a book on performance rock climbing.
Yes. So, 94, when Nick and I went on a climbing road trip, I also had managed to arrange with the university, because I was in a master's program studying what makes someone a good rock climber. And so, Chris Hill, knowing folks at the Boulder Rock Club in Colorado, helped me set up being able to collect data for my thesis project with climbers in Colorado. So our road trip took us to Boulder, and I went into the Boulder Rock Club and I met, Pat Amet and Jimmy Rito and and Tommy Caldwell at 13. And we set up my thesis study project, and I tested people, and people were really receptive and happy to see that someone was researching climbing, and this was great. And then Nick and I ended up in BC, in Vancouver, for me to write the thesis. And I was never very happy in BC. To go, it was so expensive to live, meant you didn't have a lot of time to go climbing. And then when you're in Vancouver and then you're having to drive to Squamish to go climbing, that's quite a drive.
Yeah.
So Nick was going to give up climbing.
At that point.
So he went down to, you really should interview Nick.
Oh, I will, definitely.
He went down to Smith Rock with a friend of ours, and they did this road trip. His goal was to do a 13A in Smith. Typical Nick fashion, he did a 13A, a 13B, and a 13BC.
Man, wow.
In one trip. And he came back, he had no goals. He had
ticked all the boxes.
No plan. And he was like, I don't know, maybe I'll go back to school. And I was like, okay, I was a little stunned. And we weren't actually getting along at that point. We had kind of broken up, but we were both living in BC. And I said, you never really tried trad climbing. You should try trad climbing. And we knew all these people who trad climbed. We knew guides. And he said, well, I suppose. And he's like, well, could we go tomorrow? And I said, sure. So I had this very minuscule small rack from trad climbing, and we had been sport climbing for the last year and a half. So this rack had just been carted around with us. And we went up and we did this 510B. And it was me standing at the bottom.
Angel's Crest, probably.
Here's how you play skier.
Go.
And he did. And of course, if you can do 13 BC, you're not too worried on a 10.
Yeah.
So he went up that thing and he was like, okay, all right, well, we should do something bigger. We should do like a real thing. So he goes to the gym that night. And the next day I find myself on the grand wall.
What?
In Squamish. And he's leading. And
Wow. Learning to jam
yeah,
on the
he's
fly.
borrowed gear from these friends of ours who are guides who've given him all this hype that are like, oh, yeah, it's going to be great.
Cool.
Meanwhile, I'm his second. And the hardest pitch on that is 11. There's actually an aid ladder on it. And when you're 5'3.5", they don't place the bolts for you. So you actually end up working twice as hard
There used to be a rope on that, didn't
to get up this bolt ladder. And then Perry's layback.
That's brutal.
And we didn't know enough about trad climbing on big walls. And so I'm climbing Perry's layback, 11D, which is the hardest thing I've read pointed in sport climbing. And I've got a fanny belt with our lunch and water and the rope hanging off the end of me and the shoes. So I'm trying to climb Perry's layback with all this stuff. But I got to the top. I thought I was going to throw up. I'm laying there on I'm like, I want to go down. I'm done.
Yeah.
And Nick's like, we have 3 pitches. We are not going down. I'm like, I want to go down. I don't want to climb anymore. So he convinces me to keep going. And then, of course, we had to do belly good ledge. Yeah. Oh, my God, Sean.
Which is how you traverse off the cliff
that's how
at that
you
point.
traverse off. So Nick goes across, and he stands up and starts shuffling. And I'm like, oh, I'm not liking this idea at all. Like, this is not a good idea. And he gets to the other side. He said, okay, you have to come. So I start with the shuffle, and I'm like, I can't do it. And I go right back. So then I'm on my belly.
Which is the name of the ledge.
Which is why it's called belly good ledge. And I am inching my way across after a full day of climbing. And I'm in the blazing sun. And I got halfway across, and I started to laugh. And I was in that hysterical laughter.
Right, yeah.
And I just looked at him and I said, I'm never going to be here again, ever.
Ever. I will never.
I'm done. I'm never going to do this again in my life.
You mean rock climbing in general or trad climbing
Trad
specifically?
climbing.
Oh, okay. All right, so you're promoting trad climbing earlier, and then you're like, done. You're done with it.
And so we walked down, and it was like a solve. There was something about that day that reconnected us.
Oh, nice. Okay. Even though it sent you in different directions, you directly away from trad, and then Nick accomplished some fantastic things with Tommy Caldwell for one. Yeah.
And so it was like a healing in many ways too.
Neat.
You know. And we both had done something outside our comfort zone.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, and I said, you're never going to be this age again. And this is when you are peak physicality. And you've always wanted to do 14B. You should go do that. And so he left and went on the road within a very short window of that conversation.
And you were still in Vancouver at the time, or did
I
you
was
move
still
back
in
home?
Vancouver trying to finish up writing my thesis project.
Okay.
And he's like, you should be here with me. And so we went back on the road.
You were on the road for a while, weren't you?
5 years.
Living out of a van or crashing on people's sofas, or what were you doing?
So mostly out of a vehicle.
Yeah.
We went through a few vehicles, a couple car accidents.
Oh dear.
And, but we also had met some amazing humans who were so kind and so generous and, park your van in our yard. So it's kind of not living out of a van when you get to go in a house and use the shower.
Yeah. Yeah. Still counts.
Yeah.
So where are some other spots you hit on your road trip?
So we
some
left.
of the highlights.
Yeah.
You probably went 5 years, man. You would hit them all.
We hit quite a few.
Yeah.
When we started, we went, of course, we'd been to New England lots of times, but that was the first stop. Then we went down to New River Gorge. I learned what copperheads were. Then we went all the way across to Colorado, got things set up. We went to Vegas. We went to American Fork, Vegas, Texas, Hueco. We didn't get bouldering.
You didn't get
that
it. You didn't understand
That was
it.
1994. We're like, what is this? This doesn't seem I don't know.
Yeah. What is this bouldering stuff?
What is this bouldering thing? It doesn't seem, you don't get pumped. I don't get it.
Yeah, that's a whole other story, I think.
Yeah. And then we went Smith Rocks. Oh, one of my favorite places, Smith Rocks. And then up to Vancouver. And then we sort of did that sort of circuit seasonally.
Yeah.
And climbed that. And we added in Kentucky as Kentucky blew up in popularity. Went to Utah less and added in the Virgin River Gorge.
Oh, okay. I've never been there. Isn't that like right on the highway or something?
Yeah, it is. Some pretty classic routes there. We did get to California as well. So just did this circuit where we traveled a lot. But it was nice to go to a place and be there for a month. And then that was about my limit of not talking to people and coaching. And I would have to be, I'd be like, we need to go make money. I need to talk to humans and coach.
Okay. Where were you doing the coaching then? Just kind of in different spots as you were going along, different gyms?
So in 95, we went, well, we had this crazy thing happen where I had to defend my thesis. We were down in Kentucky, and we had met the owner of Joe Rockheads. And he said, come coach, work with people in my gym. So we went up there, worked with people in his gym. And while we were there, we were like, we really should move out of the Mazda GLC.
That was my first car. That's a small car. Really? I didn't know that.
And, and it was cold. It was November. So we were like, it would be nice to have like a truck you could sleep in the back of.
Yeah.
So we bought a truck. We finished up coaching, get on the road, the 401 to come here. It's snowing. Driver's side tire blows. My thesis defense is in a couple of days, and the truck rolls into the ditch.
Oh, wow.
And we're upside down. And fortunately, we weren't harmed. And these people are on the side of the road. Are you okay? And I'm like, my thesis defense is the day after tomorrow. And we got the truck towed. We had to rent a car, drive in that snowstorm to Nova Scotia. I somehow managed to get through my thesis defense. We had Christmas with family. We had $200 in our pockets and 2 boxes of power bars. And we decided we were still going to go back out on the road.
You were sponsored climbers, so you had power bars. Not even.
Not even sponsored at that point. So we went back out on the road with $200. Yeah, and a credit card.
Oh, dear.
And a dream. Anyway, we made it to Colorado. We get to the Boulder Rock Club. We're working with some people. They had just opened their new location New Year's Eve. And so we're sleeping in a truck in Colorado New Year's Eve. The owners of the gym were like, why don't you come to the outdoor retailer show with us? You'll get to meet gym owners. And we were like, okay, that sounds cool. So we go to Nevada. It was in Reno. We meet gym owners. First time of this is the original Climbing Wall Association. Before the Climbing Wall Association, this is how gym owners started meeting. And we had got to meet people, the fellow who owned the gym near San Francisco, the Bay Area. So he says, yeah, come work with people in my gym. And we're like, okay. And so we load up and we drive to California. And we go to his gym. We're doing some work, which is where I found Pete's Coffee, which I still drink to today. And then we had also met at the Outdoor Retailer Show. We had met the folks from 510. And we were wearing 510 moccasins at the time. And they had said, sure, come tell us what you're doing. So we went down there to see if we could get some sponsorship. And that was down in Southern California. So we drive down there the next day. We go in. This beautiful woman, Karen, sets us up. She says, okay, you're sponsored. we're going to give you bags of demo shoes. And whenever you're working in gyms with people, you pull out our demo shoes. We're like, amazing. Load up the truck with his bag full of demo shoes, pull out of the parking lot. We drive 3 blocks, get broadsided in an intersection. The truck is totaled.
Oh my
And
God.
we're sitting on the side of the road with $400 in our pockets, bags full of shoes, and no vehicle. We had to give up on the climbing trip and go make money. But it was amazing because I got to meet so many amazing humans. Like, it's just, like, I can't tell you how many amazing humans in the world there are. But you go to these climbing areas and you'd end up meeting, we met Tommy when he was 13 and his dad. And I can't tell you how many times we hung out with them. And then we knew Tommy, we met Chris Sharma. And then we met Beth Rodden, Katie Holmes. So you meet all these people. And for me, watching them was so insightful because I would just, Chris did our hangboard test. And when he did our hangboard test, I'm watching this kid. Yeah. 14 years old, 15 years old. His entire back is flushed red with effort. And he is not letting go. He has outhung anybody I've ever tested on this thing. And he's just not letting go. And even when he finally fell, he was still holding on as he was falling.
Wow.
Like the effort was
Tenacity.
still there.
Yeah.
And so it was like, oh my God, this is what separates the pack. He does not let go. And then I'd be like, okay, Nick, you can't let go. Like, it's just got to be your new thing. Like, you just don't let go.
That's it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and you start training. And I got to climb with, one day, Boulder Rock Club. I had just worked with a client. And then I was going to climb for me. And Robin Irvisville and Lynn Hill walked in.
Oh, wow.
And they're like,
Wow.
hey, you're just working with someone. And I'm like, yeah. I was just,
do you want me to teach you too?
And they're like, well, why don't we all climb together? Oh, okay. I'm scared.
How is that?
Because now I'm climbing with two of the
legends.
best. Yes. Amazing
Absolute
women.
Legends. Yeah.
And Lynn is trying to figure out how this thing in the gym works. She's like, so how does it work?
Yeah. Where were you at this point? Where did you run into those guys?
Boulder.
This is Boulder,
Colorado.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was one of my best training sessions ever because there was no way I was letting go of any hold. You were not letting go. I was like, I am not letting go of anything. And I couldn't move my hands for 2 days after.
Awesome.
The effort.
That's a good session.
Yeah, it was a really good session. But that's the thing. You meet these amazing humans and you're just blown away by their mental game. And that, for me, I started by testing physical strength, flexibility. Then I figured out there's a relationship between how people move and what physical strength they have. Because I had the numbers. I tested back and shoulder strength. I tested grip strength. Beth Rodden would blow you out of the water with her grip strength to weight ratio. Not so great on the back and shoulder strength. But what kind of routes did she do really well on? Vertical, small holds. And so you start to see these patterns that people climb in the way that they are strong. And so then to train them, you got to get them to move in more ways. You have to change their movement patterns.
To work on the weakness?
To work on weaknesses.
Right.
And what you need to do is train people how to move in the most efficient way possible. So that's the habit. And it's like what neurons you fire wire together. So when you're trying to train a new weakness, you're trying to get as much muscle memory with the new movement as they have with the old movement. so that they have more tools in their toolbox. And then I was also always watching and listening for the mental game, because people will say things, or you will watch those body cues that tell you they gave up. And so that's where you say, okay, now I've got to choose, how do I work with this person on convincing, getting past that mental game. So many people, if you say, I don't do red roots, you're not going to do a red root.
Yeah.
And you're not even going to bring the effort required to do a red root, which is why I love spray walls, because spray walls, you can decide how hard it is, and you don't have that mental barrier about whether you can or cannot do it.
Yeah, well, you're opening up a bunch of stuff. Like, who was I talking with?
Rich said that when you talked to him in the podcast.
Yeah.
He said, getting on things you don't know the
Exactly.
grade.
That's what I was thinking of. Exactly. You have no preconceived idea of,
So you just
can
try.
you do it? Yeah. So am I hearing that you were discovering that the mental game is perhaps
The greatest
the
thing.
greatest hindrance or opportunity in improvement of climbing?
Absolutely.
Very cool.
I believe
which
that.
is funny, coming out of that your thesis work of strength testing and pinching and hanging, and that's
I can't
cool.
tell you how many times I saw people who
That's
were
amazing.
super strong.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you should be climbing 514
Right.
with these
Right.
numbers. And they'd be like, well, no, I don't climb that hard. And that's why.
Yeah.
There is nothing in your technical ability or your physical ability that says you can't climb that hard.
It seems to be a common thing that gyms produce very, very strong climbers, but it doesn't seem to translate outside in some cases.
Not at all.
Why is that?
Well, especially today's movement is very
I'm learning
parkour style is what they call it. But this dynamic movement doesn't teach technical climbing. And so you can not have great core strength and still climb fairly well at the gym. Whereas if you know from climbing outside, core strength was a big thing for a lot of the things that you try to accomplish outside, right? You have to have core strength, because you can't just dyno back onto something, or it just doesn't work as well. And so...
But you need core strength to catch a dyno. Don't you?
No, you need core strength to control the momentum after you catch the dyno.
Okay, that's what I was...
And so if you watch people fall off, they can do the distance, but they can't contain the latch because there's too much momentum pulling them off the holds. And that's something I worked a lot with when I was coaching the youth. It's about how do you generate and move, but then how do you latch? Distance is not as much the problem, right?
So you were starting to talk about the current style of the parkour-y stuff. It breeds climbers that don't have the skills maybe to translate to outdoors as readily. Is that
right?
Is that fair?
Yeah, I don't think so. The other thing, gyms, footholds are fairly apparent. Whereas
That's
you know
a good
what it's
point.
like here.
That's a good point.
You know what it's like in Nova Scotia. You're
Yeah.
standing on some crystal.
Yeah, where the hell is that crystal?
And that's a little bit different.
What about, here's something I've been wondering about, like creativity of climbers, and it kind of points to that element of finding that foothold or imagining a possibility that's not very obvious,
Oh, we're into a fascinating topic.
Yeah.
Okay, so remember I said you want to have a big toolbox of movement. So one of the things I used to say to kids or young people that I would coach, I would say travel. Go to all the different outdoor places you can. What made me a good climber was I could climb on sandstone, granite, limestone, you name it.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
I had been traveled, and all of those different rock formations teach you how to move differently. And that made my toolbox really big. A gym hires setters. setters move in a specific way. They set routes to meet the way they move. And so everybody who goes into the gym learns to move that way. And you've probably had this experience yourself. You go into a different gym and you're like, what is this setting? This is bizarre, because the setters don't set the same way. And so you're limiting that toolbox by only going to one gym.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that makes me think of what really bothers me is when people stay too tight into their lane, that they don't want to go to another gym because they're going to suck.
Right.
Or they don't want to try trad climbing because they're going to suck.
Right.
You know, and it's like, okay, you stay in the lane you're good at, but you're not getting
right.
better. You know what I mean? Like that diversity, I think, is so important. Or so much more fun. I mean, who cares? Like people could stay in their own gym, or they can do parkour-y stuff. They don't have to be good outside. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah, but nowadays, everybody's life is lived on social media, right?
I'm on Instagram now. I got a podcast Instagram thing.
So everybody knows what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
And if you can't prove you're doing good stuff, then, you and I are a different generation. I don't post much on Instagram or on Facebook. If I'm posting me at a climbing gym, it's sitting next to my son, because we're climbing together and I'm excited about that, but it's not about the routes we're on. And so I think because people live so much in that sort of social world, there's more fear of judgment, and they don't want to look bad. They fear that. And I've experienced it myself. I started surfing when Nick and I moved back here. I started surfing, and I actually loved it because I didn't have to be good at it.
Yeah, it's great being a kook,
I was a newbie, and therefore I could fail, and it was okay. Whereas all my climbing felt like, don't fail because people are going to judge you.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you're a coach and you're selling your services to.
You run the gym.
Be the best. It's such a common handicap, I guess,
Unless you can get your head around it, which again, you're back to the head game.
Yeah.
So the most freeing moment in climbing for me in Nova Scotia was when I left Dalplex in 2014 and I opened a yoga studio. I took over a yoga studio and I was no longer in the climbing world. And Seven Bays opened 2015, May. And I was like, I'm going to go try it. But I wanted to go in and I didn't want anyone to know who I was.
So you wore a ball cap low on your head.
I was trying to hide.
Yeah.
And I ended up sitting on a bench next to this 22-year-old, giving him beta because that's what I do.
It's very annoying, by the way.
Yes, I try. I ask permission. I've learned to ask permission. So I had asked him permission, and he said okay, and I made a suggestion. And then he tried it, and he's like, that was really cool. And of course, I'm trying something totally easier. And then he started talking to me about the route and his experience on it. And we had this conversation. And I walked out of the gym that day and I thought, what sport, what activity can an old woman, chat with a 22-year-old and have common ground
I love it. Absolutely.
and common experience?
Yeah.
And it's one of the amazing things about climbing is that you can talk to just about anybody and have some shared experience with them.
I love it about the sport as well. It's so cool.
Yeah. Because, I was listening to you in your podcasts, your previous podcast, and we remember moves on routes. And if someone has done that route, you're like, oh, and that move, suddenly you have this common conversation.
Well, what I think about sometimes is the shared experience of a specific route. I mean, the routes outside are timepieces, the red route's going to change next week, but you have these timepieces that that have existed whenever they got opened up, and if they become classic routes, is because they're really good. And you and I have both climbed the Grand Wall, and we can have a connected experience thinking about Perry's Lieback, or even down to certain hand jams on routes that John Long put up or something, right?
Right.
Like I love that connection of experience.
Yeah. Yeah. You go to the same memories. Like, not, you didn't do it together, but you have a similar memory that you can discuss, which makes it really interesting. And I would say that when you work in the industry, you get that, but then you also work in the industry. And so it has, sometimes you have to be, you armor more, armor up a little bit more, because you have to hold yourself in a certain position. It's like coaches these days. You're now, the level of climbing is getting so high. Coaches don't climb as hard as their athletes. And so now I know coaches who won't climb in front of their athletes. And it's a way of protecting your image, your ability to
sell a product, which is your skill.
Yeah, I guess I balk a little at sell a product, but for your athlete to believe you can teach them something, it's better if there's a little mystery about your performance or how you perform. And we haven't transitioned yet to a place where athletes are willing to accept, not in this sport, but I mean, let's think about any
other sport is exactly that way.
It's exactly
right?
that way.
You see an out of shape old man standing behind a hockey bench, telling guys what to do that they could barely even do themselves at their prime,
right?
Or not even do that themselves.
But you have, like, the experience of knowledge that you have and the thousands of hours of watching people move.
Yeah.
And
It
still can inform what people are going to do or could do to improve. But it's not necessarily heard unless you can prove you climb hard.
Right. But I would guess that it's possible for coaches in certain sports, maybe even climbing, to be able to coach somebody without actually having done it themselves. Would you believe that? Do you believe that?
Yeah. It's also about setting. Like, if you think about it, it's also about setting. I don't have to be 6 feet tall to know how a 6 foot tall person is going to move through that series of holds, right? I can imagine it. I can visualize it. And that's because of the experience I've had both climbing in the past, but also in watching movement and people of all sizes. And so new setters, a lot of people think they have to climb at a certain level to be a good setter, or you have to understand movement to be a good setter. And you have to be able to see different bodies move to be a good setter.
Very cool.
And so we're not quite there yet in that element either. We haven't quite. I have the amazing life where I get to meet with these people who are fabulous setters and have started to age. And of course, they can't climb what they used to.
I see, yeah.
But they're still setting
top-notch
problems and amazing, interesting movement. But if they didn't have their name and the reputation or the job security they have right now, they might not get hired in another job, right? So it is a really interesting, it's an interesting time too, because we have that history is just getting to that point where we're hitting those age marks.
Maturing to
It's
that
maturing
next
to the
level.
point where you're starting to see those people age. And then it's like, so what's next for them?
Probably a podcast. So we've talked, I'm really getting the picture, and I think I knew this, but you, in a very real sense, define yourself as a coach. I think seems like your prime self-definition way of defining yourself, maybe. But let's talk about you as an athlete, because all along that journey, road tripping all over, you talk about Nick's goals, but I'm sure you had some of your own. And, you were pushing the envelope here for sure when you came back. But tell us a bit about your evolution and
Where to start?
yeah.
I'm blessed with the body I got. My muscles naturally like powerful movements, and I'm pretty flexible. I'm not amazingly flexible, but I'm pretty flexible. So I had a pretty good start. I need to move my body to be a happy human.
Don't we all?
So I know it really well that I need to move my body. And so I'd always been physically active. And then when I came to climbing, it was natural for me to want to keep getting better. And as an athlete, I wasn't happy competing. I did compete early on, and I didn't like how it separated people. I'm actually pretty good when you put me under that competition spotlight.
You can turn it on.
I'm not going to fail.
You won't let go.
It's like climbing with Lynn and Robin. Yeah, I'm not letting go. Too many people are watching. But all the years Nick and I were together, he definitely had goals. And I was like, okay, well, I'll find something wherever we go. So I had goals, and I did work towards goals. I still have my journal books with all my written attempts and what went wrong and what I had to fix and all the routes. But with sport climbing, it wasn't as freeing to me as when I discovered bouldering, because I would worry about the falls. And I realized it wasn't the falls.
Sport climbing you worried about?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sport climbing, I worried about the falls. And I realized I had that problem. And I would do things, Smith Rocks. I would climb up this route as a warm-up, 5'11", before I'd get on my 12, and I'd climb this route up, and then there'd be a point where I'm like, okay, Nick, I'll take a fall, and then warm me up for the falls. And I had figured out I couldn't say where I was going to fall. I just had to decide not to latch a hold and then fall.
To force yourself
Yeah.
to have that fall, yeah.
And one day he played out extra rope, and I took the fall with the expectation. And then when I didn't get caught, I was like, ah! But it never really worked for me. That wasn't a good way for me to get over it. And I realized what it was the not being in control. I did not like failure, and I did not like not being in control.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would dial a route in, the beast in rifle. I dialed that thing in. I could lap that thing on top rope.
Oh, that's quite a hard one.
13.
Yeah.
I could lap it on top rope before I would lead it.
Right.
Because I needed to know I was going to lead it and not fall. And that's just the way it was for me. And when I discovered bouldering, the fascinating thing for me was the fear of falling went away.
Which is weird because, depending on how high your boulder is,
those
falls are worse.
I had to be so focused on the movement. There was no room.
Because the difficulty was so high.
Because the difficulty was so high.
Yeah.
And so that was a big, like when I found bouldering, I was like, oh, my brain works better here. I can handle this a little bit better. And I felt more control in the situation. And so we had this experience where we had just gotten married. It was 97. and Nick and Jared went on a road trip to Europe. I had Jared's dog plus our dogs and myself. I went down to Hueco alone. And I ran into people, but then there were all these dogs together and everyone's on leashes, and it was a zoo, which is my worst climbing experience ever. Like, yeah, just wait. Lineups? No, thank you. So I decided I was going to go find a boulder problem I could try. And I found this thing on North Mountain. And I went to it by myself every day, and I'd put in so many attempts. And it was supposed to be a V8. I had never climbed that hard. I'd climbed 12C. I was working on a V5 when I was with a crowd of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, I don't care. I'm here. Nobody's bothering the dogs. I can try this thing. And it was a low ball. So
Perfect.
yeah, it was perfect. And then I did it. and this guy walks up just as I'm sitting on the top, and he's like, "Oh, cool. You did it." And I'm like,
I guess.
I think so. I had just been in such a mental state of focus that I wasn't even sure I had climbed it.
Awesome.
And so then I climbed it again because I was like, I've got to make sure that I did it. You know?
What was the route? Do you remember the problem?
I think it's called Frogger.
Okay.
Anyway, and then I didn't want to tell people because I was like, well, nobody's going to believe me because I've never done like a V5 and I've never climbed anything super hard. And I went back and some people were really excited about it. So that summer, Nick comes back from Europe. We go to Rifle and I'm going to try 12D. And we go to this route that I've picked out. And I'm not even getting past the first 3 clips. And he's like, oh my God, Heather, you just did a V8.
Right.
So he goes to the car and he gets the crash pad. He put the crash pad down. He's like, don't tie in, just climb it. And I did. I went to the 3rd clip. No try. No problem.
I thought you were going to say you sold the route.
Yeah. And that's just the way my brain is.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
When you put the rope in.
The rope and all the clippy clips just sort of mess with your
It messes with
brain,
me.
yeah. Mm.
So
you're no Alex Honnold. Let's put it that way.
No, Alex Honnold, for sure. So that's when I knew, like, I'm a boulderer.
Yeah.
It just changed.
So you finally, full circle, I mean, you talked about checking out Hueco years and years ago and not really getting what's this bouldering all about. And then here you are. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I got it. And my body, my muscles, they're good at that fast twitch, high power.
Nice, yeah.
Nick was fabulous with power endurance and recovery.
Yeah.
That guy could go, he went to Rifle with Mia Axon for a weekend. They did 32 routes, 513 plus in 2 days.
Oh my God.
Like, he could just go like the Energizer Bunny. I'm like, yeah, I'm more like a couple hours, super hard moves. We're good.
Yeah, let's go grab a coffee. Crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So, a lot of time on the road there, and you came back a final time? Was that at some point to open Rockworks?
2020, or not 2020. 2000, what year was it?
2002? Let me check my notes.
2000. It was 2000.
I think that's right. Yep, that's what
So 2000, Nick's family had some health issues. My family had some health issues. And John and Greg, who owned the trail shop, had a store called Valhalla Pure in the business park.
Oh, right.
And they had told us about this gym next door that might need new management and introduced us to the person. And so we decided to come back and run that gym.
As management, not owners.
As management.
Okay. And that was Indoor Adrenaline at that point?
I forget what they called it.
There's like 3 gyms in there.
Maybe it was indoor.
Yours was called Rock. Well, you continue with the story. Continue with the story.
So we arrived back here in July or August, early August, and started running the gym, and we called it Rockworks.
Yes. Rockworks.
And lo and behold, by October, we had bought a house and I was pregnant. So it was like, well, I guess we're committed.
New life.
New life, big change. And we ran the gym. Finn was born. I went on maternity leave. And while I was on maternity leave, the fellow who ultimately was responsible for that space and owned the gym decided he was going to close it. Wasn't making enough money for him.
Okay.
So he was going to close the gym, and we were then unemployed.
Right.
No, I was on maternity leave. Nick became unemployed, but Nick pursued being a sales rep shortly after that.
For a gear company or something?
And we had kids I was coaching. And so I went to Sean Fraser, who worked in athletics at Dal, and I said, these kids still need to climb. What arrangement could we make for them to use the Fieldhouse wall? And he said, sure, we can make that arrangement. So I was volunteering my time to coach them on the Fieldhouse wall. And then Sean was like, or what if we were going to build a better wall? And they picked Aldo. And Aldo came and put that wall in a matter of 2 weeks. And the wall was in, and we had jobs. So my part of it was to run the gym, and Nick's part was setting. And he was still doing the sales rep thing, so I was doing a lot of all of it. But we just ran around, and, Zig was great.
Yeah.
He's a good setter. And Finn was little, so Finn grew up in the rock court.
No, he's quite a climber now, I gather.
Yeah. He got good. He got good.
He got the genes, I guess.
Yeah. He's doesn't get to climb as much, but whenever he and I are together, we go climbing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so you went from the Rockworks, which closed down, opened the Rock Court at Dalplex. New mom, busy juggling all that stuff. Back to Nova Scotia, whether you like it or not.
Well, and I did, after I had Finn, it became pretty important for me to get back into shape. And I think it was that fear of losing sponsorship, because we were still sponsored at the time. And, I was coaching. And so I trained. I figured out how to train.
What do you mean you figured it? Didn't you write a book on it?
I did.
I read my book.
Train for bouldering. Bouldering training is a little different than rope climbing.
Okay.
But also post C-section, it was a different game.
I bet, yeah.
It's learning your body again, and it's different. And I was still nursing, and that was a complication. So anyway, 9 months later, Mother's Day, I was back I sent Tsunami.
9 months after giving birth to Finn.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
And it was Mother's Day.
That's impressive.
And
that needs a little bit of core, which needs a bit of stomach muscles where the C-section may have been. I'm no doctor, but
it took me a while. It took me a while to get that back. But yeah.
Good on you. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, I'm back. I'm in shape. And I mean, Tsunami's right next door. I could go to it in the morning.
Right? Yeah.
And I got lots of time in on it. And of course, I had Nick to help. And
it's a low ball. It's a nice problem to work on.
Yeah, it's a good one. And it's sectioned, right? So you have you have a more technical section and then a super burly section with a rest. So it was good. It was a good route to come back to. And then Sonny Trotter came to visit. And we went out to Shabukto first day, and we pull into that. We could still drive up to where the lighthouse is. And we get out of the vehicle, and he looks out, and this whale breaches right in front of him. And he's like, oh, God, this is your climbing area?
It's pretty darn good,
like, yeah, it's pretty good. But while he was visiting us, we went to Resurrection, and I got on it. I mean, and it was the original start, which is more to the left.
Oh, has it changed?
It's changed. And it was like, I couldn't lift my rear end off the ground. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to start this
Where
thing.
does it start now? I thought you start on that rail and then you like shoot off to the right, don't you?
Yeah, so there's this really big move in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even lift my rear end up off the ground. But Sonny was just like, oh, you got to do this. You got to do this route. This is your route. You got to do this route. So then I started projecting it. And I did it that summer. And a lot of people have since, it's been downgraded and all that jazz.
Yeah.
Ben, the only thing that makes me feel good is Ben Smith looks at me and he goes, you did it in August.
That adds a grade if it dropped, yeah.
You did it in August. The grade doesn't go down.
Very cool.
Like, thank you. I'll take that.
Yeah. So is this the same season? This is later that season after you did Tsunami?
So
Resurrection.
Finn, it was.
So you got that pretty quickly.
It was just after Finn turned 1.
Wow.
I did that.
Wow.
And then I did Gamey Bird in the. I started working on Gamey Bird, and that took me till the next season.
Interesting, yeah.
To do it.
That sounds like a cool. I don't think I've ever seen. I don't know if I've seen that problem. It looks beautiful, but it's off limits now, right? Because it's private property, I believe.
Yeah, now it's on private property.
Which is a shame.
It's gorgeous. The holds are sharp, and it's one of those ones. You got 5 tries, and then you're bleeding.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind then. This doesn't sound very nice.
When I finally sent it, I sat at the base looking at it, and you have to kind of will yourself. You know this experience where you have to will yourself to put yourself in that much pain. And I sat there, and I was like, I gave birth. I can do this.
Easy. This shit
I can
is
do
easy.
this. That was hours of pain.
Yeah.
This I can handle.
And then that was the send go.
And that was the send go. And so that was a good send.
That's an impressive tick list there.
Yeah.
And at that time, like Zig was reminding me about those sends, and that was the hardest around here by far for a female climber, and even in the country, I think that was right up there, right? Is that your memory as well?
Yeah, it was up there.
Yeah.
I think there'd been 1 or 2 other women who had climbed that grade in Canada.
Wow.
That we know of, right?
Yeah.
There could be other women that we don't know about who've done stuff like that.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But yeah, and then, you have a 2-year-old.
That on top, yeah, absolutely.
And then life gets busy.
And I have female friends that have commented on you doing that shortly after giving birth, and like have been super inspired by that. Other mothers that are like, wow, Heather kind of paved the way there. So,
oh, it's nice to hear. It's I would say having a child is a huge. I had never experienced anything that physically demanding, like pregnancy itself, and then giving birth. My body had never had to do anything that hard. In many ways, it was actually mentally helpful for me because I was like, oh, you can do hard things because you've done hard things. So in that sense, it was helpful.
The mental game again.
Yeah. That mental game. I suffer from a fair amount of self-doubt a lot of the time. And that was the beauty for me. The relationship I had with Nick, so much of it was because he believed in me. I believed in me. Sonny Trotter, you can do this. You totally have to do this. Okay, I'll go do it because Sonny said I could. That was I was so gifted with people like that in my life, and watching like Chris Sharma talking to Lynn Hill. I just remember this conversation. I can tell you exactly where we were and what we were doing. And she said, I just thought, well, we should just try it. And I was like, oh my God, I put so much thought into why you shouldn't do it. Or what if you fail? And her attitude was just, well, I'm just going to try it.
Just try it. That's the hardest step, isn't it? Just making that decision to try, to launch.
Yeah. And I would
forward.
say that's the hardest thing for me about aging. Women go through a lot more changes than men do with aging. But for me, noticing the reduction in my physical strength, things that used to be super easy, like I've done a lot of house projects. I used to take a 3/4 inch sheet of plywood off the top of the car, no problem. Now I'm like, oh, we might fall.
This is the royal we.
we might damage the vehicle here. and just knowing that I've changed physically that much has really wreaked havoc with my confidence to try hard things. So I go to the gym. There was a year where I would go to the gym and climb, and every third time I climbed, I was injured. And I'd have to go to physio. And then I'm like, well, now I'm spending more time at physio than at the gym. And of course, it's because of the hormonal changes in my body. It doesn't, my joints are not as stable as they used to be. I have to work harder for stability.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious what your advice would be for other female athletes, female climbers specifically. But you kind of made the point about your body changing through different stages. And I was listening to a podcast on surfing. Can't remember the woman's name, but she was talking about, it just kind of struck me. She's talking about, a woman's body goes through an incredible amount of changes through, much more radical than a male's body through adolescence, like childbirth. Hello.
Yes.
And, menopause, perimenopause, all this stuff. It's like constantly changing. So, I mean, I don't know if that's relevant to what you might say, but what is your advice?
Listen, as a coach, my goal has always been to get people mentally in their body. So you physically experience what's happening, and you can tell that's bad pain, that's good pain. This is okay, this is not okay. One of the things you battle in a world where people are trying to monetize coaching, it's like, here's the training plan. Well, a training plan should be a very personalized thing based on where you are, what your goals are, where you're trying to go, and how much time you have, and what other things are you doing in your life. And yet we try to simplify and, here's the fix for the Band-Aid for everybody. And that's not the case. And so for me, I loved yoga for the same reason. It's all about your own personal experience with posture. And that personal experience informs you of how you are and where you are at any given day or moment, and what you can do, what you can expect, right? And so I think having that understanding, we spend so much time in our heads, right? We're looking at things on our phones. We're thinking about things. We don't feel how our body is experiencing life. And so if we get into our bodies and we experience how our body is moving here, then we have much more information on whether we should try that move or not.
So being in tune with your body and your mind is, so yoga was a path to that, or can be a path for others.
So when you go through a divorce, and your ex-husband lives in a different country, and you single parent, and your 6-year-old says, "I got you, Mom," you don't take them bouldering with you. Or you don't climb on things you're going to fall off of,
Squash your child.
So I started doing yoga because I could do it at home, and he wouldn't get harmed in the process.
Yoga is a non-contact sport,
Right.
mostly.
And there's so many similarities between yoga and climbing,
Yeah.
because the goal of yoga is not the depth of the posture. The goal of yoga is the experience of the posture, to be in the experience. And when you're climbing your best, see what I did there? That was the name of my book.
I saw that. Yeah, I did. On sale now.
Yeah, if you can find it. But when you're at your best, that's what you're doing. You are experiencing the moment. You're in the moment. And that's the beauty. I mean, trad climbing, you're scaring yourself out of your mind. You are very in the moment. And so that's when you actually perform at your best. That's that flow state that Miyahai Mihanchiai talks about, right? And that's what we all chase. You're chasing it in surfing.
Indeed.
That
I
moment.
chase it in everything.
Yeah.
Really. And I would just to interject, like I did yoga for a few years back when I was strongest climbing. My performance was at its highest, and I found a lot of parallels with yoga, and that focus and awareness of weight distribution and muscle engagement or something. I was amazed at how connected they were. It's a great way to supplement climbing and
All
helping
things
performance.
physical.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I still practice and I meditate. And to me, because I've been doing that for so long, it tells me where I am. It's like, oh, it's one of those
To
days
check in
today.
with your body and your mind.
Well, because that's another thing with aging. As we age, the brain changes. Arthur C. Brooks has written a book on this, From Strength to Strength, it's called. And it's a great read. And it talks about our mental processing as we age. We actually are better at storytelling, which is what you're doing.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Because we can bring together more complex ideas into a story. It's what my brain wants to do at this stage, right? It wants to write.
Yeah, I guess that's the storytelling. I've noticed you've got a blog going. You've been doing that for a number of years.
Yeah.
You write quite often. It looks like every week or so.
I try. I do a lot of writing in my job.
Okay.
Like writing content for certification programs for the Climbing Wall
Kind of
Association.
dry writing.
Yeah.
Technical writing, probably.
Technical writing. Yeah. And then, but I've always loved writing. And now I, sort of blend these concepts that you come up against in the yoga world. Things like letting go. What does that mean? But I had my own practice of that when I was climbing hard routes. I would sit at the base and I would tell when I was coming back to this route to try again in the future, to let go of the pressure to do it today.
Okay, that's a nice trick.
Right? So it was part of the letting go for me, was letting go of that anxiety of it has to happen today, or that pressure. And putting it in a place of, no, this is just another day that we're going to the office and we're doing so many tries, and this is how many tries. And by focusing that way, I could let go of that stress. So I think that's one of the reasons I find yoga so captivating, because it works a lot with your mind and your perception of the world. And then how do you how do you translate that into everyday experience?
Are you getting inspiration for your blog writing through your yoga and meditation? Is that
Yeah, and
what
my
I'm?
life experience,
Yeah.
things that happen, things I read about.
It seems like a journal in a way too,
Yeah,
kind of just getting your thoughts on paper and
yeah.
processing some stuff maybe and sharing it.
Well, I told you self-doubt was a big thing for
Yeah,
me.
which surprises me in a way. I mean, you just seem like such a confident
I
woman
just,
in many ways.
well, I just wrote this. I teach certify people as instructors,
Yeah.
and I hear this all the time from people. Well, I wasn't sure I was ready to do this. I wasn't sure I had enough experience, And so I wrote an article on the imposter syndrome, and it was published in Climbing Business Journal recently. And it's that place we all sort of armor up, feeling like we're a bit of an imposter showing up in the world.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here talking to you, and I'm like, who am I to be here talking to you? I haven't done anything significant.
Oh, well, that's not true at all. But I'm like, who am I to
Right.
put this podcast thing out?
Who's going to listen to what I have to say?
But it's like, who cares? We're just gonna try it. We're just gonna move forward.
I will say, when you're a woman in a male-dominated sport industry, and you're all of 5'3.5". There are times you feel unseen, unheard, undervalued. And so it does push back against your confidence in what you know. And certainly people have said things where they've questioned me on what I've accomplished, or questioned whether what I'm offering is of value. It's like, I said this to you earlier. I was on a work call yesterday. I'm the only woman. There's 8 men.
And you were leading the call.
And I'm leading
Yeah.
the call. And
Yeah.
I somehow have to convince them to listen to me. You always are trying to figure out how to show up in a way that they'll hear you. We go into that situation recognizing we are the only woman in the room. I can't tell you how many times I've been at the Crag and I'm the only woman there. And it's a totally different experience for me than it is for the boys.
But that's changed, hasn't it? I mean, the boardroom that you're talking about is maybe slow to catch up. But we were talking earlier. What I think is so cool is that the amount of participation of women in our sport now. I challenge you on you being the only female at a crag these days.
Oh, these days, I don't know if I would be. I'm curious, actually. I know statistics, North America, it's about 50-50 male-female in the gym participation.
Right, which is awesome, yeah.
In terms of working in the industry, not many female route setters. There's been real push to try to improve that. In terms of coaching, I see a fair number of women, but not at the high performance level. So there's still a bit of a glass ceiling, I think, on that level. In terms of how many women own gyms, again, small number. Culturally, things are changing a little bit. But I do think it's going to take quite a while. And don't get me wrong, men have, there's some real value in the way men think and the way that they engage in the world. And there's real value in the way women do. It's not the same. And that's okay. I don't think women should try to just be men, and I don't think men should try to be more like women. That's not what I'm saying. I think it's recognizing the strengths and weaknesses of both sides of the equation, and then capitalizing on the best of both worlds. Without female perspective, you're missing out. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, But if you think about how many routes that are established outside are put up by men and how many are put up by women, that influences grading. That influences everything.
Bolt positions.
Bolt positions. I've been on routes where I cannot clip the bolt from standing on the ledge like everybody else. And you got to make a decision. I'm either going to try harder than everybody else has to do this route, or I'm going to walk away, or I'm going to get injured, right? So I'm not blaming. I'm just saying perception is different. So if you actually took a human body and you measured arms and legs, and then you said, okay, I'm going to create a route where the holds are relatively distance apart from the center, relative.
Are we talking geometry here?
Yeah, we're talking geometry, man. A man would go, oh, this route is this grade with this much extension. But for a woman, there's that much more extension.
Yeah. And the grades mean different things too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, grades are so fuzzy and weird.
It's so subjective.
Anyway, right?
So subjective. How can you actually know what the grade is? Because in your body, it's going to feel one way, but in somebody else's body, it's going to be totally different. Which is why I find it annoying when people define your performance by grades.
Given all your coaching experience, any top tips you would share with up-and-coming climbers?
It's always got to be fun.
Yeah.
It's got to be fun. If you take the fun out of it, and I recently saw an athlete who did that, went and worked with a coach, got very good, is very good, performing super well, but not loving it. And I think, you could put as many medals on the wall as you want or as many trophies in the trophy case, but if you're not enjoying life, it's not worth it. It's not worth all the trophies. You can tick all the routes you want, but if you're not enjoying the climbing, it's not worth ticking all the routes. So it's got to be fun. It is a big part of it. And then it's who are you with? Because they're part of the fun. It's just such a gift to see people who believe in possibility, who don't feel shut down when they can't do something right away. Instead, I've written about this so many times, but this is the epitome. Nick was doing this route in rifle. He was close. He goes up this thing, foothold breaks as he's clipping the chains. And it's next level for him, 14B. The person who did the first ascent of this roof is standing there watching him fall off this thing. Nick hits the end of the route and he's like, this route is so cool. I get to do it again. And I'm like, how do I become like that? Because that is not what I would be saying. Like, that is just that mental approach, right? That desire to be so in the joy of what you're doing that even when you're totally challenged by it, you're positive. Yeah.
The community here. We started talking years ago when you first got into it, and there was maybe just you and Willett climbing and maybe a couple other people. It's grown a lot.
Oh, yeah.
What are your reflections on how the community has changed and what it looks like now?
I think it's fabulous that climbing has grown the way it has, like in the sense of so many more people have access to it and get to experience it. There are definitely things, like I would hate if climbing lost that pristine, I'm out in nature, I'm having a fabulous experience in nature with 1 or 2, 3 people. That's more my jam. I don't want to go with 50 people anywhere.
You're not a Boulder Fest girl?
No, I was never a Boulder Fest girl. That's not true. I took the kids the first 2 years, I think. But not, I'm much more about the experience of being in nature or being with the sport and being engaged in the sport as opposed to that large group social event that happens. But I recognize that when you get this larger community, you're going to have events that get big, right? So there's a little less intimacy in it. And I would hate for us to lose some of that intimacy, some of that sharing. I also think because it's becoming so much more mainstream, people don't go to the gym with the same projecting perspective. They go climbing and it's like, well, I'm going to do these things, that are in my wheelhouse that I can do. And then I'm going to leave. As
And then
opposed
put it
to
on Instagram.
put it on Instagram, as opposed to I am going to try this thing until I bleed. And then I'm going to get tape and I'm going to try some more. I don't know how many people commit to a route like that anymore.
Oh, I think it is. I don't really. Not
Yeah,
that
I don't
connected,
know. I'm
but
not
I think
talking
so.
to a lot of folks who are still at their projecting.
Yeah.
Want to
Well,
project.
maybe it's a switch that needs to turn on because Samantha talks about that in our chat about deciding to commit to projects and try hard and have bigger goals. So
Yeah.
I think people come to that in their own time, and I know it's happening out there. People are committed to their projects,
Well,
and
that's
I think
good.
there's lots of space too. There's some group events that seem to be happening, which I think are kind of cool to see as many people as there are out there.
Yeah.
But there's tons of room. There's for those
Yeah.
nature experiences with a couple close friends.
Yeah, and there are definitely some events that I would go to for the support of the community.
Yeah, well, that I saw you commented on this online. I noticed, but the main face rendezvous
Yeah,
that the Benjamins organized, super fun.
I would have
I
gone,
couldn't believe the number of people there, Heather, and I could just like you would have been wandering around the base of that cliff.
not getting any climbing done.
Well, I mean, historically,
No, because I talk too much.
that's why we've been taping for 2.5 hours. But no, but years ago, you would be walking along the base. It would be just you and your partner, right?
Right.
And on this particular day, there was at least 50 people.
Wow.
And all different ages and men and women and kids and whatever. I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah.
It was so neat. Some old friends that I hadn't seen for ages and new faces. It was really cool.
So I do want to ask you, how many women to men? Like, what was that ratio?
Yeah, well, that's funny. Because it started out, we all kind of met up and we're walking in, and it was all dudes.
Right.
It was all dudes, and I'm like, oh my God. And then eventually, Samantha and Jody showed up.
Oh, good.
And I'm like, oh, thank God, this is not just a dude fest, right? And then it worked out. I would say, I don't know. There's a bunch of women showed up. I would say like 60, 40, 60, 40.
Yeah.
Something
That's
like that.
good.
Yeah.
I did want to go. I was traveling that day. So otherwise I would have gone. But I think what they've done is amazing. I can't believe that, Climb Nova Scotia really needs to get back to giving out those things. It was on my agenda.
Maybe it'll come to pass. So, what's next for you?
Living the dream.
Continue living the dream.
So these days, most of my climbing happens when I travel, actually. When I go to places like Salt Lake or Colorado, I don't go climbing here much. Most of it's I don't have a partner. And so much of climbing for me has to be about the people. And I've backed myself into the corner. I don't blame anybody for that. But now that I don't work in a gym, so in 22, when I left the rock court, I didn't really think about this very well. And I was still coaching the kids, but the kids have become the people I go outside with.
Awesome. Yeah.
And now they're all graduated and they're all
moved
off
away.
at university. And so I don't go out climbing. And it's kind of weird. It's because I don't have people that I would just call up and say, let's go climbing.
Which is weird from having spent a lifetime
Yeah.
in the industry. But you said earlier you kind of steered yourself away from
Yeah.
climbing around other people. So
Yeah.
maybe you put yourself in that corner. But
I did. And then I say homeless because I don't have a gym that I I don't have a membership at a gym. I don't have a gym I go to regularly. I just go occasionally, and if Finn's in town, he and I will go. So I call myself homeless these days when it comes to climbing. And I try to stay in shape, but it's hard. So then you go out, it feels weird, feels awkward. But one of the kids I coach was trying Tsunami this year. So I was down at Tsunami playing around on it.
Yeah.
Nowhere close to getting anywhere close to doing it.
Yeah, well.
But I was down with him, And another one and I went out to Crystal Crescent bouldering. So it's my fault, but I don't have any climbing goals except for not to die. That's the big one.
It's always a good goal.
It's the big
this
one.
could be your advertisement for seeking partners on this podcast. Give Heather a call. She's got lots of experience, I think.
I can hold a rope for sure. And then in terms of, do I dare say this? In terms of work or sharing climbing with other people, I'm loving the fact that I get to work with coach committees and we put together ways to prepare coaches to go out there and be good coaches.
Cool. I
love that. So I'm very excited about that. And I'm also excited to keep writing in my blog. I think I enjoy writing. I don't know how many people read it, but for me, it's trying to provoke people to think and get curious about what's possible for them. That's what I love to do. That's my purpose in life. So that's what's next.
There's some thoughtful stuff in there. It's good reading.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you for reading it.
Yeah, I haven't read all of it, but I've read a few articles.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in to do this with me. I know it's a bit of a drive to come all the way over from Sambro.
No problem. I, again, see potential. Want to support the potential.
I appreciate that. Thanks for the chat, Heather. If anyone needs a link to Heather's blog or wants further details on any of the Icebox episodes to date, please check out iceboxsessions.ca. And as always, big thanks to Climb Nova Scotia, Unfiltered Brewing, Seven Bays Bouldering, and East Peak Climbing Gym for supporting the podcast. I couldn't do it without you. Catch you all later.
That makes the day. When I go climbing with somebody and they care how I do and what my performance is like or what my experience is like, that's what climbing is for me. And likewise, I'm invested in their experience. I want us both to have a great day. That, to me, is the best climbing experience.